Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I want to talk about the reality of being a PoE streamer, specifically focusing on the recent announcement of both Somad and Crystal to leave the PoE section. So this video was inspired by Taki Cat's video. I figured I'd give my take, sort of kind of thing. This is actually my third attempt at making this video. We're going to focus on a few topics instead of going full Monty. I don't expect this video to get too many views, but for those of you who do like it and enjoy it, here it is. So let's focus on the burnout, money, and PoE side of streaming. So burnout, we got burnout, money, and PoE. Obviously, there's infinite amounts of different angles that I can come at from content creation. I've done this as a hobby for many, over 10 years now, and I have definitely been around the block. I know kind of what kind of does cause different things. So yeah, by basically, if you're interested, I started back in the League of Legends days, making content for League of Legends on a separate channel. So let's cover burnout first. So I think a big component of both, well, I know at least Somad's kind of exit from PoE was burnout on the game. You know, he wasn't enjoying the game anymore, and that was a big part of that. So in my opinion, if you're a content creator and it's your job to produce content on a game, you don't play the game. That's not what you're doing. You don't think about playing the game. You're not playing Path of Exile anymore. If you were to play Path of Exile for 8 hours a day, 365 days a week, there's absolutely no possible way you wouldn't go crazy. That's not what the game is about anymore. When you convert from being a player of the game to a content creator, there needs to be a shift in your attitude towards the game. You're no longer playing Path of Exile. You're playing YouTube and Twitch and whatever other platform you're playing. So when I log into PoE, I'm not thinking about, oh man, I can't wait to get my next item. No. That obviously is something I enjoy doing, and that's why I play PoE and I like enjoy making content. But that's not what I'm thinking about. When I get in there, I'm thinking about, oh, okay, how can we min-max today's video? What video am I making today, man? Are we doing a new video on, like Lyra Thane? Are we doing a new video over here? What are people thinking about right now? I check out other content creators. I check out, what people are asking questions about. And I'm always thinking, what is the most useful and pog video I can make today? Maybe I make multiple videos and I come up with multiple ideas. And often I get inspired, like with the recent build that I've got, the Heartbound Loop Auto Bomber. I got inspired by something that I saw, and I'm just on a tangent right now. I just want to make that badass. But a lot of the time when I don't have anything going on in the game, I'm just thinking about, like what can help people. So I put out a video. It took me literally 10 minutes overall to make. I didn't expect it to get many views, and it didn't. But I put it out there and it helped some people out. That's what it's about. And I noticed that some of the gems I was using on my build were really overpriced. So I decided to point out a tip that you could use these secondary regrading lenses. 263 people enjoyed that video. Hell yeah, man. And that actually does generate a bit of revenue. I would show it, but I'm not sure if that's actually in the TOS of YouTube. I don't know. I'm not opposed to talking about money there, which we will get to when we talk about the money section. Yeah, so it really is about your attitude towards the game. You're not playing PoE as your job, you're playing YouTube and Twitch as your job, and you need to make that transition. Otherwise it's not going to ever work out for you as a content creator. You will get bored with any game you play for any extended amount of time. You need to think about it from a content point of view. What are you doing for the new content? Well, I'm not sure entirely, I can't speak for Somad or Crystal on this point, but that's how I approach it, and I think it works out pretty well for me. And I'm always thinking, how can I make the most interesting stuff possible? The next one is friction, okay? A big part of burnout is doing things you don't like. I get that a lot in my real life job. If you guys didn't know, I work full time, and I have a lot of friction in my full-time job. Let me give you some examples. So driving to work, that is a massive amount of friction. Getting up at, really early in the morning. I hate that, man. Friction. Anything that amounts to friction in your life is going to make you unhappy. And that's what I found out personally. And I always try and minimize the amount of friction in my life with whatever I do. And that's why I actually enjoy content creation so much, because it's by far, in my opinion, the most frictionless job that I can personally do myself. And what I want to point out here is a prime example of friction in my content creation is in my first channel, which was League of Legends, I edited all my videos. And I absolutely hate editing videos, man. I hate that. It takes too long and it really burns me out. So I decided I'm not editing any of my videos anymore. And I was kind of I knew it would hurt me in the long run, and I know it's still hurting me on my content. You know, it's probably the reason why I can't get ahead of some of these other videos, which are really, really high quality. But you know, it is what it is, man. If I was editing videos, I'd probably, you know, quit way faster, or I'd burn out, or, you know, I would, you know, not making as many videos, or I'd be really unhappy. All of these things are undesirable. So I decided I'm not editing my videos, you know, and, you know, you need to identify what the friction is in your life. And for content creators, I imagine there's quite a lot of friction. So it's, you know, these are really good points. So for me, it was editing videos, which I think is going to be a big one. The next one I'm going to talk about here is success and mental state, I suppose. We'll talk about them together. Mental state. Okay. So in general, it's actually fairly mentally taxing being a content creator, because it's really all about you feel like, you know, people are assessing you. You know, when people don't watch one of your videos, you're like, oh man, that was a shit video, right? No, it wasn't a bad video, man. It's just, you know, you didn't target the audience correctly. This leads into a massive wormhole, which I've gone into in my other takes, but you know, that is a massively separate video. But basically, a good video is a good video even if it doesn't get a lot of views. Like a good example of that is, I actually can't remember if I talked about it in this take, but basically, I did a breach experiment where I basically made 2 videos. One of them was just the loot I got, and the other one was going into super min-max stuff about, you know, the occurrence rate of breach lords, breaches, which watch densities, and all sorts of stuff like that. The better video is the one that got the less views. I can objectively tell myself that, but it just didn't get picked up by the algorithm. It didn't pique people's interest. I didn't have a good enough title. It wasn't clickbaity enough. Any sorts of things like that could have been the reason. My thumbnail wasn't good enough, but you know, it's okay. I think I did a pretty good job with that. I was happy when I finished the day, and I feel like I did a good job on my content that day. And that is really important. You cannot let the view count, anything like that, or all of that stuff affect whether you think you're doing a good job or not. You just need to objectively look at your content and be like, did I do a good job? Yes or no? Well, if you did a good job, awesome. Now, you also do need to get into the min-max of it and really do dig into what people want to watch and all sorts of stuff like that, but that is really a massive topic, which I can't go into now. All right, the next one is success. So if you're stagnating, okay, if you're stagnating in content creation, all sorts of stuff like that, that has a massive impact on your success. Especially if you're not at a point where you're self-sufficient, or like, you know, you've gone into this being like, you know, I'm not making enough money to live, but I'm gonna get there. You know, if you put that pressure on yourself, you're already in a really, really bad spot. And, you know, you shouldn't have dived into content creation so early, and you probably should have, you know, maybe built it up while doing something else, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, if you're stagnating, unfortunately, you need to continue to diversify your content. You need to continue to think about what you're doing and all sorts of stuff like that. I could give you a million different things about that, but, you know, it's something I'm very passionate about, but we won't talk about that much at all. But if you're stagnating, you basically need to switch it up. You need to change the game, and you need to start experimenting. So that's going to be all on Burnout. I think a lot of those things do tackle that topic, and potentially maybe if you know, I got a chance to talk to Somad, maybe I feel like maybe some of these things might have maybe impacted his decision to quit, and maybe if he had looked at things like that, you know, maybe we would have still had you know, some of the awesome content that he was providing. But I'm not sure. I'm not Somad or Crystal for that matter. I just talk about Somad because he's the guy I watch. Anyway, moving on to money. All right. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, money is an interesting one in PoE and a content creator in general. PoE is a fairly large game, actually. It's like top 20 or something like that on Twitch. So there is actually a lot of money to be made in PoE. If you guys didn't know, it's fairly easy. Well, not, sorry, let me take that back. When you get to a certain size, you make a lot of money as a content creator, and it's all about getting to that critical mass where you start attracting sponsors, organizations, and all sorts of stuff like that. We'll get into that in a second now. But essentially, my take on content creation is that you need to do it part-time until you can afford to do it. It's an incredible risk to your mental well-being and, you know, your overall life if you dive into content creation without kind of understanding whether or not you're going to be able to make it or not. That's kind of just my opinion. Of course, we've seen massive successes who have done so. You know, Zizarin, Steel Mage, and all sorts of stuff like that. Dove into it, I think, early on, and, you know, just went all in, put all their chips on the table, and went, poof, you know, I'm all in. And that can work. But if you go all in, it doesn't work. You don't have a good game plan, you don't have a good approach, you can really mess yourself up, you can burn out and you can end up quitting. And if you stagnate in like, the 250 to 300 viewer area, you don't have YouTube going on, you're not uploading daily, you don't have any sponsors, you are in a lot of trouble. And I think a lot of people, they quote the, the whole people stacking shelves or working at McDonald's makes more than a content creator. That is that sort of area. If you've got that 350 viewers on Twitch, you're relying on your subs and your donos, you don't have a YouTube going on, you aren't in touch with the sponsors yet because you're a little bit too small, or you are in touch with them and they're shafting you on the rates. That is danger zone, and that is where you really are going to have a big issue with success / mental state here, and that's where you don't want to be. So you need to get over that hump before, in my opinion, you go all in with the chips. But let's talk about money, because I'm actually fortunate enough to be at the point where I'm like at that inflection point where the amount of money that I earn off YouTube and Twitch has now just exceeded how much I actually make full time. If you guys are interested, I work as a full-time business analyst for a company. I'm currently working in product development though, which is pretty fun. I work for a very good company. But now, I could, in theory, go full-time content creation if I wanted to go down that path. Which is pretty cool. Now let's talk about where the money comes from, because a lot of people don't really understand how to make money as a content creator and where it actually comes from. Everyone's always like, yo, this guy's got 1,000 subscribers, he's making $5,000. Like, I mean, no, that's not the reality of it, really, is it? I think this also feeds into burnout, stress, and mental state. But I don't think that you can build a sustainable business, which is what a content creation kind of person is, a small business, based on the goodwill of other people. I think that the goodwill, the donations, the subscriptions, those are essentially your bonus check. That's the way I look at it. So I never don't assume subscription, donations equals income. So you should basically calculate your income, excluding subs and excluding donations, if you want to live a stress-free life, in my opinion. If you rely on that and, suddenly, that tweet wasn't so good, man, and you get 30% less subs that month, that is very stressful, and I never want to be subject to that personally. So basically, I don't assume any of the subs or donations I get are my income. Obviously, they do help and stuff like that, but I don't assume that. The next one is you need to diversify your revenue streams. Okay, so that's what I do. I got the YouTubes, I got the Twitch, which gives you ad revenue, and then I'm looking into now the sponsor area, and then I've also got a website. All of these things will come together to hopefully form a sustainable income. Eventually, one day, if I decide to go full time, that will then be very important. But the main one here, in my opinion, which everyone should start with and should be the priority, is YouTube. YouTube is by far the most sustainable amount of income you could have as a content creator, as long as you aren't like massively crude or crass in your videos. The AdSense that you get is fairly respectable. If you get a reasonable amount of views, you can expect to make, $100, $200 a day off a YouTube video. If you hit a banger, and that's pretty damn good. That's if you log in and you have a frictionless video creation, maybe it takes me about an hour and a half to make a video. That's pretty damn good. If you can earn $200 a day, off of making a YouTube video, that's really respectable. That's right up there in terms of currency making IRL, at least for me, and I think that's pretty good. So YouTube should be your absolute one-stop shop, that you need to be making a YouTube video every single day. And one of the misconceptions is that if you make too many YouTube videos, they get less views. That may be true to some extent, but from what I've experienced this week, my little experiment, that is actually not true. You can actually get a lot of views even if you put out multiple videos a day. So I'd almost even go as far as to say you shouldn't even turn the Twitch on unless you're making 1 to 2 YouTube videos a day. If you're looking at it from a purely business perspective. And that is because YouTube as a platform in general, garners a lot more views than Twitch. It's much more mainstream. People come to YouTube via a more diverse kind of bucket of content. Basically, if you're a content creator and you're not doing YouTube, you're shooting yourself in the foot with a massive rocket launcher. That's what I want to say. So YouTube is the heart and soul of your small business, and it should be treated as such. The next one I move on to is Twitch. So Twitch, you should definitely do Twitch eventually, and I did eventually get into it. But my view on Twitch is that you should stream just enough to engage with your viewers and really enjoy their company and have a lot of time, but not so much that it's taxing on you. You're much better at making a YouTube video or two in terms of ROI on your time and your money. I know it's kind of gross to talk about it this way, but that's the reality of it. Than streaming on Twitch, because let's say you get 1 sub an hour, and a lot of the time that's being generous. That's not nowhere near as worth your time as making another YouTube video, right? I think that Twitch is basically there to interact with your viewers and kind of really have a good time with them, and that's the way I treat it. And when we move on to the next point here, it will also reinforce that. But as an income stream, Twitch is a fairly weak option until you become truly massive and become like a planet size. Like for example, your Zizarins, your Kriparians, your Alkaiser X's, and all sorts of stuff like that. And we'll talk about why that is in a second here. So next up, we got sponsors. So this is something I'm just learning about now. You have to be a certain size before anyone will even talk to you, because it's not worth their time to talk to you if you get like 2,000 views on a video. But when you do get to a certain size, people do start approaching you. They talk to you about sponsorships and all sorts of stuff like that. And this really does basically, in some cases, in actual real most cases, you can quadruple your earnings from YouTube videos, and you can turn Twitch into an actual sustainable income. And getting to that critical mass, getting to that point where you can, turn the sponsors on, is basically you're in the gravy train. That is the golden zone, right? And if you can't get there, that is basically burnout, right? And that's where you're gonna give up. But when you're there, that's the promised land, man. And that's when you get into basically all these people drinking the latte, mochaccino, frappes, Starbucks, and they're loving it, and they're driving their cool cars and all sorts of stuff like that. Sponsors is really the main reason. Once you get there, that's when content creation, you made it. It pays off, man. Because as I mentioned, let's say you make $100 on a YouTube video, and then suddenly, some sponsor wants to sponsor you, and they offer you, an obnoxious amount of money per 1,000 views. That is really, really awesome. That's POG. But getting to that point is incredibly difficult. I also have a website. This is something that I was inspired by Raynad to do over at Tempo Storm. He made a lot of success out of that. I'm still working on that. I'm going to continue to work on that. I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of the monetization of that, but I'm still figuring that out. But people really like the website, so I'm going to continue to do it. So that's the money side of things. It really is all about achieving that critical mass. If you go all in to try and get there without a solid game plan, or you don't have a backup, or you're like burning a candle which has a set duration, it could be big trouble, and you could like basically go backwards 2 years in your life in terms of your financial position or anything like that. So it is definitely, that's kind of one thing. Next up, let's talk about PoE, and we'll round out the video. Whoops. All right, so PoE is a fairly interesting game. Everyone quotes it as being a cyclical game, but I don't really view it that way. I think if you view it that way, that's a defeatist attitude. If you're basically like, I'm only going to get views in the first month of the league, well, that's just not really true. People continue to play this game for many, many months. The main thing is, though, that the people who do continue to play the game are not the hardcore audience. There's not as many people who are playing the game who are hardcore in month 3 as there is who are just chilling out. Some guy who works 9 to 5, and he wants to log in on PoE on the weekend. You think he's quitting the league on month 2.5? Bro, he probably hasn't even beat Shaper yet. So you need to make sure that you tailor your content to both those people. But also, let's say people have disengaged with the league. Well, they still love PoE. They still want to watch PoE, right? I still watch PoE when I'm not playing. So you need to tailor your content to them as well. I think a good example of this is League of Legends, right? I don't play League of Legends anymore, but I still watch like I'm a Cutie Pie sometimes. He doesn't even play League of Legends anymore, but I still watch his stuff. And that comes back down to being a personality on YouTube and Twitch, and making sure your content is non-informational based, which is what I'm struggling with right now. It needs to be story based. Story-based and personality-based is going to basically be that sustainable kind of content, and people watch you for you. People watch you for entertainment. They watch you on the TV instead of watching you on the computer. These are all massive things that you need to think about, and that is really where you need to take your content towards. That's the direction you need to be going in, and that is how you honestly beat the cyclical nature of PoE. I think someone who has this nailed is Empyrean Gaming. A lot of people probably watch his videos who don't even play PoE or have disengaged with the league. I think he's got a really good take on it. I aspire to make some content maybe like that one day. But that is one aspect of PoE. If you get really stuck into the burnout and also stuff like that on PoE, you're gonna have a bad time. You need to look at it from a different lens and a different point of view, and you need to look at it from maybe a story content PoE point of view. I'll give you an example. If I was doing full time right now, one of the ideas which I hope to do sometime in the future is a series called Build Off. All right. And please don't steal my idea if you're a content creator watching this. But the build off idea is that I'd get together with some other content creators. We'd pick a skill and we'd have 1 week to build around that skill, all starting out on Twilight Strand with 0 currency. So maybe I picked Armageddon Brand, or maybe I picked Orb of Storms. We can now all make content on that skill. People who have disengaged in the league might be interested in that because, it's not about the league. It's not on this league specifically, it's just interesting. How is he going to build it? What's going on this time? All sorts of stuff like that is really good, and it's kind of a catalyst to make content on, right? If you don't insert those catalysts into your content and you're grinding, hundreds of maps trying to make currency for no reason at all, that's boring. No one wants to watch that. So come up with a really good content idea. For the build-off, I'm planning on, picking a skill, we go through it, and then someone wins at the end. You have who can shatter the Legion monolith, who can do the end bosses. There's going to be points, there's competition, you get guest stars in, challenges, all sorts of stuff like that. And suddenly that's really interesting to watch. I'd watch that, and that's what it's all about. So in the end of the day, I think people who look at PoE and be like, it's cyclical, I'm going to take a month in month 3. Oh man, month 1's gone, I'm not making any money. It's very defeatist, and I think that you should look at it more positively, in my opinion. So that's going to be my bit of a video. I'm pretty sure this was a pretty long video and no one's going to watch it. But if you stayed until the end, type something funny in chat. In the description, and I'll like it. But with all that said, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed my perspective on PoE. Streaming is a massive topic I'm very passionate about. Maybe I make more videos in the future if people like this one. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.